All right. Well, I'm an account executive in the Health and Life Sciences division at Microsoft. So I work with all of our customers who are kind of mid-sized hospitals, clinics, physician practices, and different healthcare providers to kind of consult them on their IT needs. They face a lot of challenges related to like government compliance and different things in addition to providing the best patient care they can. So I consult them on kind of how Microsoft and other companies can help them meet those needs. Well, I definitely would not be here if it weren't for Cal Poly and social sciences. That was kind of how I got my foot in the door, was at the career fair at Cal Poly, and met the recruiter there, and she said, I have this one manager that I think, he's looking for someone like you who has kind of a unique background with a social sciences degree. And so he was very interested in kind of finding someone that had the ability to talk to people and understand different problems. And so I think social sciences and Cal Poly really set me up for that. It didn't hurt that, it's such a great school with an amazing reputation. So I wouldn't be here if it weren't for that. A few different things. I was planning to go into law. That was kind of what I thought was my path. And so all of my internships were directed towards that. So I worked at the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles for a little while. So I worked there with victims, actually victims of torture who were seeking their asylee and refugee status. So that was kind of, an amazing chance to hear people's stories and help them get assistance. And then I also worked at another law office that did more of kind of the corporate business law. So I worked there for a little while and then participated in a few different on-campus activities. So I did a few things and tried to make the most of it. I love healthcare. I think it's a really exciting industry to be in. And I work for a pretty small team, which was one of the things that I was really looking for. A team that really relied on one another and was supportive and, kind of had to do a whole bunch of different things to get the job done. So I love that even though I work for a massive company like Microsoft, it feels like a small environment and we get to work in an exciting industry like healthcare. So it's changing all the time. It's always in the news and it's fun to be able to be a part of that. I would say it's in kind of understanding the bigger picture of things, so coming into a conversation with a customer and listening to what their needs are, kind of being able to apply that more broadly to by understanding what's going on in the industry as a whole, what's going on in the country as a whole, where's healthcare moving. I think those are skills that you learn in social sciences no matter what your concentration is. So I did criminal justice for mine, and so you kind of look at like the criminal justice system and you apply that same principle, like, okay, you have to understand the system more broadly, you have to understand the laws more broadly before you can look at that one individual person or situation. So I think it's a really similar thing, I guess. So I apply it all the time. Tried to get involved pretty early at Cal Poly. I did things like Relay for Life and orientation programs pretty early on, just to kind of meet more people and understand more about the university as a whole. And then eventually I got involved in things like ASI, and that was really where I found my niche. And so that was a huge part of my college experience. And I learned a lot about working with different types of people and kind of challenging yourself and throwing yourself into things that you had never tried before, like going to Microsoft. That was less scary because of experiences I had at Cal Poly. So yeah, I think that was huge. I talked about that a lot in my interview, where not just the in-class experiences, but also what I was able to accomplish and aim to do out of the classroom, I think was really helpful. I think any of those experiences like that, where someone has a chance to say, not only am I going to try to get involved, but I actually want to be as big of a part of something as I can be, I think that always stands out to employers. So whether it's, planning an event, taking the lead on a group project, going for a leadership role in an organization. I think all of those, were helpful in standing out against other candidates. Well, I mean, that's hard to answer because if you have all Fs, you aren't going to get your degree if you are. So, no, I think you need the grades just to show that you are reliable and dependable. Definitely. And it's a way where if someone sees a 3.8 on a resume, you're automatically going to stand out. But I think the experience is 100% essential to kind of back that up and show that, not only can you really excel in the classroom, but you can apply that in group settings, in team settings, in that sort of collaborative environment. So I think you have to have both, and the experience is just a little more fun to talk about. When I was interviewing and looking for something, I think the fact that I knew kind of what I wanted to do might have been a big advantage over other people. Like I, was able to funnel my options into things that I was really excited about. And I think my excitement for the job that I was applying for or the position or whatever, I think that came through. So that's usually the advice that I tell people is like, if you can figure out some idea of where you want to be and what you want to be doing, someone will be excited to hire you. So I think that I was in that situation, and then being able to draw upon experiences and answer questions that a lot of people maybe that were at my level weren't able to answer. I think that probably stood out. But I mean, half of my answers came from things like when I was a hostess at a restaurant and I tried to do something different, or when I was barely involved in a club and I was a freshman, but I learned this. So I think anyone can draw those experiences. It's just knowing when to bring up certain things in an interview. I think the best thing you can do is just have diverse experience. Like if you have one summer volunteering at a nonprofit full-time, one summer working full-time in a kind of more corporate environment, one summer maybe studying abroad, it's so dependent on the person that you're interviewing with. And so if you have kind of a broad array of things that you can draw upon as experiences, that's exciting to people. Like my manager, for example, he loves hearing about people's travel stories. So, to him, someone's experience spending 2 months abroad is extremely valuable. To other people, they might want to hear more about, okay, so how do you work in a corporate environment? So I would say the more broadly you're able to kind of expand yourself and try different things, the more marketable you're going to be as a candidate. Just because someone, is going to be able to see like, okay, she was able to fit in these different environments, I'm sure she would be a good match for this team as well. So I guess for mine specifically, if you are able to have kind of that more corporate experience, even if it's just for a short time. I know some people who have shadowed at large companies just over winter breaks. If you can do that and put aside 2 weeks and you just go every day and you shadow someone just to be able to say that you did it and know what to expect when you go into that environment, I think that's a big deal. And of course, I'm in healthcare, so if you have any chance to go into a large hospital and work there for a while, that's huge. That's really big. Because if I can walk into a customer and say, I know what it's like to walk on the floors of a hospital, or, I've spent some time in an ER, or anything like that, they're kind of impressed and appreciate that you can relate.
I'm Michael Hibbard. I'm a professor in the Department of Planning, Public Policy, and Management at the University of Oregon. Let me do a little bit of background. I'm not really going to talk about my own job because I don't think people coming out of an undergraduate program at Cal Poly want to know about what it's like to be a professor. I think they want to know about the kinds of positions that they're likely to get. And department that I work in at the University of Oregon prepares people for positions in public service, working for government at all levels, working for nonprofit organizations, that sort of thing, and mostly in management and analysis kinds of positions. Most of our students have an undergraduate degree in something like social science, and they have worked for, say, 2 to 5 years in entry-level positions, and they're looking to move up in their career, and so they're working on a master's degree. And I think most of the positions that people might have, might be trying to get, such as city manager, department director in a government organization, executive director of a nonprofit organization, have a master's degree, and the typical way that they get it is what I just described. They work for a few years, then they go for a master's degree. Organizations, if a student is interested in economic development, there are government and nonprofit organizations that would hire them. If a student is interested in environmental issues, if a student is interested in human services, et cetera, all of the public services, there are government organizations and nonprofit organizations that they can find. Another sort of way in is that there are a whole variety of sort of volunteer kinds of things, such as AmeriCorps, Peace Corps, and a bunch of private organizations like that students could go into as a way to get their foot in the door. I think internships are really crucial for several reasons, and students could think about doing internships during the school year, over the summer, however they can do it. But internships not only give you practical experience, they give you some sense of what it's like to work in those organizations and sort of test out whether that's something that you would really like to be spending the rest of your career doing. In addition, students should take advantage of the internship to think about developing networks, because the way people get jobs and the way people build careers essentially is through their professional networks. It isn't like just responding to a job ad and you get hired or you don't get hired. You find out about the openings before they ever get advertised if you have a network of people that know you and know what your skills and interests are. So experience, finding out what it's like to work in an organization, and networking. Yeah, let me talk about skills in sort of a general kind of way. There's technical skills that a person gets in school, and they might be analytical skills. GIS would be a really technical example. Learning how to understand, say, census data, those kinds of things. So there are those sort of hard skills that a person wants to think about developing. But what employers are interested in over and above those hard skills are what you might think of as soft communication skills. It's really important to be a good writer. It's really important to be a good speaker. It's important to know how to make presentations. It's important to know how to facilitate group meetings and discussions and get people involved in some kind of an organizational or community decision-making process. So hard skills and soft skills. Another way to think about this is, what are the technical skills that you need to get that first job? And then what kind of skills do you need to get the second or third job? And try to self-consciously build those skills. The working with people part of it, both within an organization, and all organizations in some ways provide opportunities to work with colleagues, but working with colleagues on problem solving, solving problems that really matter to somebody out in the world. And then sort of along those lines, working with the general public in figuring out what the issues are that they care about and what the organization that you work for could do to help them address those issues. So good. One thing that I think about is some people are able to sort of move through a career in a really deliberate, sort of planned way. They know when they're an undergraduate or pretty quickly after they graduate what they want to do, and they take step by step by step and move through a career. My experience was not like that. My experience was more sort of looking at the opportunities that presented themselves, taking advantage of them as they came along, and then, 5 or 10 years later, you can look back and go, well, I have a career now. But it wasn't sort of intentional. And so the advice in all of that is don't feel like you're failing if you haven't got it all planned out. Just take advantage of the opportunities as they come along.
Hi, I'm Camille Crenshaw, and currently I am the Community and Corporate Engagement Associate at the Downtown Women's Center, and I was originally a social sciences major. So currently I work in the Development and Volunteer Department, and I work primarily with volunteers, a lot of our corporate partners. And so while I was at Cal Poly, I had a lot of internship experience and worked a lot with our Student Community Services department, connecting students with off-campus volunteer opportunities. So that really is when I learned about how I enjoyed working with volunteers, and that gave me a lot of great experience and skills and real-world experience that I could bring when I applied for this position and then eventually was hired on. So I think really like the autonomy that the professors give the students, and then in working in the clubs that I worked with and my internships and on-campus experience, I think that really allowed me to just excel and learn a lot and bring a lot of those transferable skills to the real world. So. Yes, so my first internship was between my freshman and sophomore year, and I interned at a public relations firm. And then is when I realized that I was not interested in doing that sort of work, and that's when I was drawn to the nonprofit sector and working in bettering our communities. And so although at that position and in that role, I learned a lot about just professionalism and writing and how to present myself. So it was still a great, valuable experience. I also interned with the Nature Conservancy while I was a student, and that was my first nonprofit experience. It's a large company, but it was great to learn about how everything works. I did a little bit of work with donors, a little bit of work out in the field, and so it really was great. It allowed me to try a bunch of different areas, but also make an impact and assist the Nature Conservancy. And in that is when I realized I really would like to do work one-on-one with, do more community-based work with individuals versus working with nature. And so I also worked with Student Community Services, planning volunteer events for students and then managing the different programs that we have there. And I think that was my most valuable experience because it was a longer chunk of time. I was with them for 2 academic years, and I gained a lot of experience in managing staff and working with different personalities and office politics. A lot of experience about working with other nonprofits and how they operate and the realities that exist in that realm. And so that was a really great experience for me. And that's when I secured my interest in working with volunteers. And that's what really gave me all of my volunteer management, event management experience for the role that I have now at the Downtown Women's Center. So. I enjoy working at an organization that allows me to interact with the clients that we serve. That's really great. I enjoy sharing DWC, whether that's attending third-party events or giving tours or going to external speaking engagements. That's really great. And that public speaking aspect is something that I really learned at Student Community Services that I brought to my role here and have really been able to bring all of that. Other things that I really enjoy, just working within the development department department and raising funds for the center. I feel like it's a really crucial, obviously it's a very crucial piece of the center. And I think that just the comfort level that I experienced in working with nonprofits in the San Luis Obispo community really helped me move into that role, and I really enjoy it, and I think it comes naturally to me, like asking for money or donations or people to come and visit us. So yeah, I just enjoy doing the behind the scenes work, but also working directly with the women. Yeah. In my opinion, I think that experience is more important, although, I mean, I had good grades, but I didn't have, a 4.0, and I think my experience was really important, being able to talk about, I had this experience, which led me to this experience, which, showing that, path and that train of thought into the thought that I put into my career and my professional growth, I think is one thing that's really important. I don't think employers are looking for, in these entry level positions, they're not looking for, exact experience, just being able to, express your transferable skills, like, oh, I gave a lot of speeches when I was working with the Social Sciences Club, and that's why I'll be really great here, doing volunteer orientations and training sort of thing. So just being very clear about the skills and how they're transferable, I think is really great. I mean, I do think that having good grades says something, and I do think that unfortunately people still take that more seriously than they should, but I think experience overall, real world experience, is what is really beneficial. I'm so glad that you asked that, because I feel very strongly about this, that I feel that students, undergrads, should go into the workforce and really gain that real world experience before they go back to school. I think it's really easy to make that jump right from undergrad to grad school, but it's a big school commitment. When you graduate, you're supposed to have another level of skills, and it's just a lot of debt and time that I think that I just see a lot of students going straight to grad school and coming out of it and not feeling very set on what they want to do, and also having not a lot of real world experience that is really necessary, I think, for being that level of contributor, coming out and being a manager. I work alongside a lot of my peers, went straight to grad school, came out, and we're at the same level of the organization. And so in that respect, I think that it's not beneficial. We have similar salaries, we have the same level of responsibility, and so I feel very passionate about getting that real world experience, even if it's just for a year and a half, 2 years before going back to school, so you're not making that financial and time commitment without knowing for sure what you want to do. So. Well, I mean, they always talk about the general experience, your connections are really important, but I just think asking people for assistance is something that people are afraid to do. But in this instance, you asked me if I could help with the career fair, and I feel very connected to the social sciences department, so I wanted to do what I could to help. And I think that individuals are very much in the same way. When you ask for something, they're eager to help, give advice, make a connection to get you a job. And the other piece of advice I want to share is that if you don't need to do exactly what you want to do when you leave, and I think that when you leave Cal Poly, there's different skills that you learn even if you're not doing the exact, your dream job. And I think that just having that experience and going to work 5 days a week, 9 to 5, is you're just learning a ton and growing. And so I just think that not being as picky might be really helpful, especially in this in the job market that we're in now.
Okay, my name is Colin McCarty, and I am a senior at Cal Poly right now, about to graduate in June. I am currently working at a local nonprofit named Lifewater International, and it's just an international nonprofit that works in Africa and a little bit in Asia, and does a lot of hygiene and sanitation projects as well as water drilling projects. We work with our partners over there to help do sustainable development. So yeah, I think Cal Poly gave me a really great basis of knowledge that I could then take into my professional career, as well as take and broaden elsewhere, and improve on the skills. So it really helped me to get to where I am today. Also, they provided me with a lot of resources that allowed me to study abroad, which was probably one of the biggest things that led me to where I am today. So, yeah. Yeah, before, I didn't have like a ton of internship experience. I just, had some jobs here and there. In my junior year of college, I decided I wanted to spend a year in a developing country, and I decided to go to Ghana, West Africa. And so I spent my entire junior year studying abroad there, and that just taught me so many life experiences, and really just the reality of living in a developing country is really important in the development field, to understand what it's like, and to kind of have a first-hand knowledge on that. So that really was great for me. I love that I'm able to, help others in an empowering way, and that I can help them improve their lives, improve their dignity, and provide them with some of the very basics of life that, I believe every person should have. So I love that about my job, that, we, of course, are not actually doing that. It's really our partners who do all the on-ground work, who really mobilize the communities to, raise those funds for latrines and for wells. And it really improves their hygiene and sanitation, and, improves their health and allows girls to go to school, and just really essential things like that, I think everyone should have. So I love that about my job. What's really important, I think, and I guess what I do, is just having an open mind about different cultures, because we work in a few different places across Africa as well as in Cambodia, and we're starting to work in India. So those are like very different cultures that are like very diverse, and you really have to be patient and open-minded, and just have a understanding of those different cultures. So social sciences has been great for that, to teach me those skills. I really think getting out of America and going somewhere, wherever you're interested, it's just important to step out of your comfort zone and challenge yourself. And it's kind of amazing how many ways it challenges you when you leave your comfort of America and go out into the world. No matter what culture you're in, it's always a challenge, and you can learn a different language, which is also a great skill. Just a lot of great opportunities that many people might not take advantage of, but really it's a great area. So. Well, personally, it might be different for different fields, obviously, but I think for social sciences, in my job, I've never been asked my grades or anything. I think it's a lot about experience. And like I was saying, that, you're not graded technically when you're working. It's more of just, you show your experience through what you're capable of in your work. So if you do good work, then, that's like a grade, and they don't, so I feel like experience, it really provides you with the ability to do good work, and, you're more capable to be a good employee. So I would say experience. Well, like I said, I didn't have a lot of internships or technical skills before I decided to study abroad. So really just life experience, like, a few hard experiences that I had in Ghana, really taught me a lot about, I guess, working in developing countries, and I feel like just that knowledge is huge in rural development, and for companies who are looking to employ somebody interested in development, just that basis of knowledge and that understanding that you can't get anywhere else, really. So. I think there's a lot of opportunities here as well as abroad. Definitely going abroad would be great, but a lot of just, I mean, at the place that I work at, we do a lot of internships. That's how I started. I was an intern, and then, eventually they started paying me, which was great. But, I think there's a lot of places who are really willing to have you step in as an intern and, see what you're capable of. And I think that's a really great way to start somewhere. So anything in the government fields is like really great. And I was looking for a government job for a while. So there's a lot of, different opportunities just depending on what you're interested in. That's an interesting question. Because I've been thinking about that a lot too, as, I'm graduating and, I'm wondering whether I should, do my career or, do a master's program, because they're very important and they allow you to get that further information and further classes and really pursue what you're interested in a very specific way, which is really valuable. But I also think experience in the real job world is also very, very useful. So, personally, it's probably just a personal opinion, but, I'm choosing to get a little experience first and then maybe narrow down what I'm really interested in, and then spend that money and spend that time to go to grad school. But, at least for me, it's not undergrad and then master's. It's more of I want to take a break, but it's a definite personal choice, I feel.